Hey guys, very basic Bible. Going to go through the book of Ruth. We did verses 1 through 6 last time. Think we can do a few more this time. I don't see why not. Let's try it. Okay. My cats start fighting if these lights are really bright in my eyes so I can see. I got all the shadows. I don't know. Might pause it. Who knows? Might have to go take a potty break. Okay. Share that screen. There we go. Right there, Book of Ruth. Now just remember, I am not decisive. I'm like, hey, what could this be? What could that be? You know, when I go through this, I'm just wondering if some of y'all watch this, you might be like, take a hard and fast. Hey, he's not certain on anything. I hope you don't say you're certain on anything. This, except God's love for us. Jesus died and rose for us. He's in charge of everything now. We can put our trust in him. But like yesterday, let's see. I talked a lot about the Elimelech. The name Elimelech. Yeah, I say yesterday. It was yesterday in our previous Bible study. How El is the name for God. Eli is for God. Melech is a Hebrew word right here. E-L-I could be God, just God. God. In fact, to my knowledge, from what I learned, it's a group of gods, but it's basically if you just want to say God by itself, a bunch of things are El, and then there is the one most high El, God. You see how much I said I've heard this, and I said it's God, the one God. There's a bunch of them. It's the most high God. It's a glass of gods. I've heard all these things from different scholars, different smart people who know what they're talking about. It's like, well, which one is it? Like, which one should I trust? Trust the ones who believe in the Bible. Yes. Talking about ones who believe in the Bible. I'm also talking about people who don't, some people who don't necessarily believe in the Bible, aren't necessarily evangelical or fundamental maybe, or conservative Christians who believe the Bible is 100% inerrant or whatever. It's mostly the latter. Some of the former, they're all scholars who love Jesus. So they have different opinions. I throw the opinions out and I say, hey, this is the stuff I've heard, But remember, we're mostly not going through this to try to squeeze every little last bit of background information out. I listen to a Bible study. This one guy, super smart, seems to know everything, has memorized every piece of knowledge about the Bible. He goes into detailed history. I'm like, that's interesting. But that's not what this is. This is instead an overview to help us get to learn very basic Bible. Why do I go through stuff? Sometime later, Naomi's husband, Elimelech, died. Elimelech, the husband of Naomi, died. Wait a minute. Sometime later versus Elimelech, the husband of Naomi. There's no sometime later here. Sometime later here. Let's look over here. Then Elimelech, Naomi's husband. But Elimelech, the husband, see, later and then over here, there's no later. Let's go read it over here. Okay, why do I do that? It's not necessarily to learn exactly what the Bible's saying. It's more to learn how to study the Bible. I'm showing you stuff when I look at it, the way I study the Bible. That's the stuff I do. It's like, no, BJ, we need for certain answer. I don't have for sure some of this. I look at and I go, oh, wait, this isn't a sermon on Sunday morning. This isn't a sermon on Sunday morning where it's authoritative. This is studying the Bible. I know in some Bible studies, a person comes super prepared and says, this is what I have learned and I am telling you this is what's right. In other words, they studied a lot came to their own firm conclusions. Now they're telling you. So it's more like a Bible telling you what I've studied and learned. This is an actual Bible study, studying along with me. Study along. That's why I call it a study along. Okay. All right, guys. Let's read the first 6 verses. Let's read it in the NASB. There goes my clock. Yeah. All right. We'll just go ahead and start reading. You can remember the chapter headings up here: Naomi widowed, a family tragedy, famine and death, Naomi and Moab. Naomi loses her husband. Naomi's family in Moab. Elimelech moves his family to Moab. Okay, remember the chapter headings. The chapter headings are not inspired. They're not even a part of the actual text. The scholars who translate out from the Hebrew, because this was originally thousands of years ago, written in Hebrew, over 2,000 at least, maybe 3,000. I mean, a long time ago. We find the papers in the ground. We find the archaeology through archaeology when we're digging, or if we go to monasteries, old monks and religious people have saved the papers for a long time. Sometimes they find them in caves and jars. That's the whole Dead Sea Scrolls, if you heard of that. Found a bunch of paper scrolls and papers with, in caves and jars. In a jar, in a cave. Anyway, you find these really old papers, these really old scrolls. Very smart scholars who are allowed to get their hands on them after the archaeologists and such has dealt with them, then translate them from the very old language, from the very old tattered piece of the paper, into English or into whatever language. Hopefully you don't take the King James Bible and then translate it into modern day English, because the King James Bible is not the inspired word. It's not the original. Now there is a new King James, and they're updating the King James language. That's different than some people. They're like, hey, let's go give a Bible to Chinese people. So they take an American Bible in English and they translate it into Chinese. No. You want to get the original into Chinese. These up here, that was a little bit of a tangent about the Chinese. Not that Chinese people are tangents, but these chapter headings up here and over here were not even in the original. The very smart scholars who translate from the Hebrew into the English put these here to help us, so we can see, oh, this is going to tell this pericope, this passage, a story in the text. You're reading, there's a break, and then another story starts. You're reading that story, then the story changes, and there's another story. That's a pericope. Okay, the passage. I'll just say the Bible passage. When you read it, it looks like it says pericope. I'm petting my cat over here. The very smart people, they decide, hey, this is about the people who did the NET, a family tragedy, famine and death. And actually that's true. There was a family tragedy. Why? Somebody was widowed and there was famine and death. So remember, these were not in the original Hebrew. These are here to help us out. There weren't even chapters and verses. Verse 1, the original Hebrew, you read from right to left. On the screen, is that right? From right to left, and there were no capital letters. There's no punctuation. Like, what? So, sometime in there, they started putting vowel pointing that would tell you where to kind of stress syllables and where to put vowels. It didn't even tell you which vowel to use. That's why you see YH, Yahweh, YHWH instead of YAWEH. Some people have YAWEH, some places. But sometimes you just see YHWH. If you ever see that in the Bible, that's why. They don't know where the vowels go. You assume it'd go between the Y and the W and the H, or the Y and the H and the It could be, I guess, Yo-ho-wo, or no. Most people I've heard say just Yahweh is, All right, so we're going to talk about the passage, the first passage. I'm going to read it in the NASB here. Now it came about in the days when the judges governed that there was a famine in the land, and a man of Bethlehem in Judah went to reside in the land of Moab with his wife and his 2 sons. The name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife Naomi, and the names of his 2 sons were Mahlon and Chilion, Ephrathites of Bethlehem in Judah. So they entered the land of Moab and remained there. Then Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died. She was left with her 2 sons. And they took for themselves Moabite women as wives. The name of the one was Orpah, and the name of the other Ruth. And they lived there about 10 years. Then both Mahlon and Chilion also died, and the woman was left without her 2 sons and her husband. Okay. Let's add some. Okay. It came about in the days when the judges governed. The days when the judges governed was very immoral days in Israel, it seemed a lot of the time. We don't know when this was during the days the judges governed. We could try and look for clues. Maybe I'll do that someday in a Bible study along. But for now, sometime during when the judges were governed, when either Israel was either committing idolatry big time, or they were getting beaten up by their enemies, punishment for committing idolatry big time, or God was saving them through a judge. The judge would come and save them, and would beat up a bunch of bad guys, and he would destroy idols. Maybe one of them sent letters to another king. That normally didn't happen. That happened with at least one of them. Most of the time, it seemed like warfare. So they just beat up the bad guys. So either during idolatry, during punishment, or during warfare. But then the Israelites, hey, we're sorry. And for a little while, they might be good. Then when the judge passes away, they start going back to idolatry again. Come on, guys. God's going to punish them again. Man. It came about in the days when the judges governed that there was a famine in the land. Let's look real quick. Now, we've already done verses 1 through 6, but just to get kind of the to see how much famines. I'm sorry, my phone just went off. So let's see about famines and stuff in the Bible. Okay, Bible Gateway. How often were there famines in the Bible? Famine. Okay, famine. Let's do this. Control minus. No, that's not it. Okay. Drought. Okay. Now there's a famine in the land. So Abram went down to Egypt. This is right after God promises Abram, I'm going to give you a son and make you into a great nation and give you all the land of Canaan. Canaan, which eventually became Israel. There's a famine, so he went down to Egypt. Genesis 26. Now there was a famine in the land. Isaac is Abram's son. So Abram has a famine, and his son Isaac has a famine. Genesis 41. 7 years of famine. Yikes. Okay, so famine will come. Genesis 41 still. Genesis 41. So let the food become a reserve for the land for 7 years of famine. 7 years of famine. Okay, 41 I still see. Okay, 42. So let's keep going. 40. For the famine had been in land 2 years, and they were still 5 years. Okay, so they're still doing the famine. Now there was little food in all the land because the famine was so severe. Okay, so that's a really bad famine. Okay. Ruth, there was a famine in the land. Okay, 2 Samuel is many years after Ruth. Now there was a famine in the days of David for 3 years. A famine for 3 years. Okay, so Gad came to David and told him, shall 7 years of famine come to you on your land? Okay, so 2 Samuel 21, 3 years of famine. And David sought the presence of the Lord. The Lord said, it's because Saul his bloody house. Okay, that's why there was a famine. Verse 24, which was some years later in David's life, I don't know, 10, 20, 30, we may be able to, some years later, David commits a sin, and God says, 7 years of famine. So famine this often. Okay. Okay. 1 Kings, Elijah. The famine was severe in Samaria, not even English. 1 Kings is well after and Elijah is well after King David. Elisha is right after Elijah. There's Elijah. His predecessor prophet is Elisha. There was a famine in the land. Okay, Kings 4:38, Kings 6:25. There was a great famine in the land. Man, okay, Chronicles, Nehemiah, let's see. Oh, Nehemiah was many, many years later after Elijah and Elisha. We are mortgaging our fields, our vineyards, and our house so we might get grain because of the famine. It's just a normal everyday thing, like Job. And famine, he will redeem you. And you will laugh at violence and famine. Job, from want and famine, they are gone. Psalm 33, to deliver their soul from death and keep them alive in famine. Psalm 37, they will not be ashamed in the time of evil. The day of the famine, they will have and he called for famine on the land. And look at this, Isaiah, I will destroy you with famine. Isaiah, destruction and famine. Jeremiah, sword and famine. Jeremiah, die by the famine. Let's see. Man, Jeremiah, so much famine. Look, I mean, golly, look at all that in famine in Jeremiah. Ezekiel, famine. Ezekiel, famine. Ezekiel is, to my knowledge, after Jeremiah. Luke, a great famine came over all the land during Elijah's day. Mark, there will also be famines everywhere. I mean, this is Jesus talking now. Matthew, very famines and earthquakes. Famine was a normal thing for them. You're wondering, what is famine? Some of you might be wondering. So famine, everyday normal thing for them. Okay, let's look really quick. Study tools, let's see. Scripture engagement or more resources. No, let's go to, okay. If I were to go put, okay, if I were to go to, okay, let's do famine. Okay, this is 12:10. I could have swore study. Okay. Go down here to, how come it's only, oh, I know. Read full chapter. Watch this. Now hit up study. Okay. Study Bibles. Go down. Plus means you have to pay for it. Encyclopedia of the Bible. Commentaries. You have to pay for dictionaries. Dictionary Bible themes. Easton's Bible Dictionary, all the men of the Bible, Smith's Bible names. Let's hope one of these has famine. Look at all this stuff. Oh, I didn't see a famine, did you? B, C, D right there, B. Dictionary Bible themes. Faithfulness, God, blessing, consistency, Jesus, types, revelation, cow, sheep. Famine. Physical famine. A serious shortage of food caused by drought, war, or natural disaster. Famine is seen as a sign of God's judgment on Israel. Examples of famines. Man, I could have just this in the days of Abraham, days of Joseph, the days of Ruth, and days of David, and days of Elijah, and days of Elisha, and the days of the prophets. Oh, look at how many famines are in the day. Man, Claudius during the book of Acts, the last days. Causes of famine, spiritual causes of famine. Yes, there's one place where God's provision in famine. That's good. God provides during the famine. Look at this. Man, trusting in the Lord, praying, responses to famine, accepting God's chastisements. Is that what they did in the book of Judges? Off and on. Sometimes they would, sometimes they wouldn't. So there is a famine. Severe drought. Why? Could have been because of warfare. Could have been because of a lack of rain, just physical. Could have been because God was punishing them. Various reasons, which would be still a lack of rain, but sometimes famines just happen, and sometimes God uses them as punishment. Sometimes it's warfare causes famine. Like it said, armies would come, they would surround cities. People in the countryside, oh no, they would run into the city behind the walls. So all the people who lived out in the countryside packed into the city and the wall, behind all the walls, shut the city up. The armies would destroy all the crops outside of the city. The people inside the city, they don't got that much food. You start eating all the food. Now, instead of say 1,000 people in the city, there's like 100,000 people in the city, because all the people from the country come into the city. They all eat the food up super fast. No food in the city, no food. They can't get outside the city because that's where the army is. They're screwed. No, they call that a famine too. So in the days, now it came about in the days when the judges governed, that there is a famine in the land, and a man of Bethlehem in Judah went to reside in the land of Moab with his wife and his 2 sons. He went hundreds of miles away because there's a famine. I mean, that's how serious it is. You need to get somewhere else to get food. The name of the man was Elimelech. The name of his wife, Naomi. Elimelech and Naomi. Hey, why don't we go read, and since we read it once here, why don't we go read it in a dynamic equivalence and a thought for thought? You're trying to get the sense of the text, a feel of the text, instead of every single word or phrase means the very specific word or phrase. Here, they try and get it the way they would have understood it in Hebrew. They translate the word so that we would get the same feeling. We want to get the same understanding that the Hebrews had, which means they might need to change the wording a little bit, because I'm English and in the 21st century, I'm not a Hebrew. So if they change the wording a little bit, let's go. New Living Translation. In the days when the judges ruled in Israel, a severe famine came upon the land. So a man from Bethlehem in Judah left his home and went to live in the country of Moab, taking his wife and his 2 sons with him. The man's name was Elimelech, and that his wife was Naomi. Their 2 sons were Mahlon and Chilion. They were Ephrathites from Bethlehem in the land of Judah. Ephraim was one of the 12 sons of Jacob. Ephraim got a big chunk of land, as did the rest of the 12 sons of Jacob. If you live in the land that was given to Ephraim, if you are one of Ephraim's descendants, everybody descended from Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and there's 12 sons of Jacob, one of them Ephraim. You either live in the land of Ephraim or you're descended from Ephraim himself. You are an Ephrathite. Makes sense, right? One of the sons was named Gad. If you lived in their land or you were descended from their son, you were a Gadite. Yeah. So they were Ephrathites from Bethlehem in the land of Judah. And when they reached Moab, they settled there. Good. Settled down, and there must have not been a famine so bad over the famine must not have gotten over there, Then Elimelech died, and Naomi was left with her 2 sons. Good. The 2 sons can work and can still make money, can still bring food home, stuff like that. The 2 sons married Moabite women. One married a woman named Orpah, and the other a woman named Ruth. Okay, not bad. But about 10 years later, both Mahlon and Chilion died. This left alone. Mahlon and Chilion are the 2 sons. So Elimelech has died, the 2 sons have died. This left Naomi alone without her 2 sons or her husband. Now it's Naomi, Orpah, and Ruth. Orpah and Ruth are Moabites who were married into the family. Ruth is in the family. She's an Israelite. Does she get to stay? Does she? Do Orpah and Ruth get to stay? I would say yes. I would bet they would all live together. But there's a twist now. Next part of the story. Naomi and Ruth return. Ruth loyalty to Naomi. Naomi and Ruth return to Bethlehem. Naomi. All right. I'm going to start reading back over here in the NESB now. Then she, Naomi, arose with her daughters-in-law to return from the land of Moab, because she had heard in the land of Moab that the Lord had visited his people by giving them food. Now that's a strange sentence structure. Let's come over here. New Living Translation. Then Naomi heard in Moab that the Lord had blessed his people in Judah by giving the people in Judah good crops again. Okay. So Naomi and her daughters-in-law got ready to leave Moab to return to her homeland. Okay, so they're all living together still. They're going to return to Judah. Evidently, the famine is over. The Lord blessed his people in Judah. You know what? Remember, there was the people, and during the time of Judges, the people are worshiping God. They start worshiping idols and forsake God. God punishes them. The people cry out, please help us, God. God says, okay, and he sends them a judge to help. Everything's all good, and the people are worshiping God. The people then fall into sin. The people cry out to God. God sends a judge. The people are worshiping God. They got up and down, up and down. This might be during a time whenever the judge came and delivered them. Judge comes and delivers them. God starts sending them food and stuff. Okay, I'll end the famine because now y'all are worshiping me again. Y'all are coming back to me. God's the father, Israel is the son, kind of thing. You know, you punish your kid when they're doing bad stuff. God tried many different ways, it seemed. So this might have been during one of the good times that the Lord had blessed his people in Judah by giving them good crops again. Okay. So we'll look in the NASB over here, and we'll add some words kind of to try and help us. Okay. Then Naomi arose with her daughters-in-law to return from the land of Moab, because she had heard while she was in the land of Moab that the Lord had visited his people Judah by giving them food. Maybe? Okay. ESV. Then she arose with her daughters-in-law to return from the country of Moab, for she had heard in the fields of Moab that the Lord had visited his people by giving them food. Kind of a strange sentence, but you know. So they're going to go back. I mean, that's a long ways, I think. Like I said, famine is a serious thing. I hit images, didn't I? How can I just go to, there we go. Watch this. Distance from Moab to Bethlehem. Let's see. Whoa! Moab is a city in Utah. Right there, Utah. How far was Bethlehem from Moab in the Bible? Distance between 9,000. That's distance between two. No, that's not it. I'm trying to find a okay. Living Passages. That looks like a Bible. The Bible Journey. Okay. Let's try this one. Looks like a Bible website. It's not going to give us Moab, Utah. The footstep, follow their path. Okay. Let's see. As you travel on a tour from Bethlehem to Moab, a mountainous strip of land in Jordan, you can imagine Ruth and Naomi traveling the same 50 miles of rugged and steep terrain. Yikes. Although it was a short trip today, it would have taken Ruth and Naomi 7 to 10 days on foot. We know from the book of Ruth that they took this trip 2 times. Yep. Once in haste with their husbands to find bread in Moab, and once alone in Naomi's bitterness after both the husbands had died. Yeah, okay. So assuming this is correct, you're a Christian travel agency. About 50 miles, not so bad. I could go look it up and stuff. I'd say not so bad. I mean, so it's a long ways, but Assuming that's correct, about 50 miles, but rugged terrain. That's how it was. I mean, they didn't have highways. They had to walk on foot. I mean, through the desert. What happens when there's no cops, there's no police officers, there's no people walking around to help, and you're two ladies, or I guess there's three ladies. She got ready with her daughter-in-laws, Naomi, Ruth, and Orpah. Three ladies. One of them kind of old, two of them younger. Naomi's probably older. I don't know how much older, Let's say she's 45. Naomi and Ruth, let's say that they're 24. Well, they would have gotten married when they were pretty young, probably. They tended to get married like 15, 20 years old. So let's say 15 and 35. It's not so bad, I guess. They could fend for them, I'm not sure. But three ladies by themselves walking along rugged, steep terrain, trying to make sure they don't get captured by thieves, kidnapped, wild animals don't get them. I mean, goodness gracious, God really does have to be with them. Through a desert, rocky terrain, no good, man, no good. All right. So now you kind of get a picture, it wasn't a walk in the park. It's not like, it's not like, hey, we're reading the Bible and these are just words on a page. This is painting a story for us. Painting a story. Okay. Verse 7. So Naomi, now this is where yesterday our first was verses 1 through 6. We just did verses 1 through 6 again. Okay, here we go. Naomi departed from her place where she was, and with her two daughter-in-laws with her, and they went on the way to return to the land of Judah. Okay, so they're going. She gets up and they're going there. Her place probably just means Moab. Might mean the place she lived. I don't know, like the specific place in Moab. So three of them, they're going. But Naomi said to her two daughters-in-law. Now remember, the two daughters-in-laws are Moabites. They're not Israelites. Ruth is an Israelite, is an Ephraimite or something like that. She's Israeli. These people are Moabite. They're Moabites, the two daughters-in-laws. So Naomi said to her two daughters-in-law, "Go, return each of you to your house, mother's house. May the Lord deal kindly with you as you have dealt with the dead and with me," the son-in-laws. Over here, CSB, show you kindness. Okay, in NLT, and may the Lord reward you for your kindness to your husbands and to me. Okay, so evidently these were good daughter-in-laws. They were kind. Now, often Middle Eastern hospitality, like a exaggeration, you'll exaggerate everything. They might not have been kind, but she's like selling their kind anyway. We're going to see though that, now I'm not saying the Bible lied here. No. This is recording what Naomi said. The Bible records what Satan says. And Satan lies, right? The Bible records lies, So I'm not even necessarily saying Naomi lied. They might have been kind. I'm just pointing out though. This sounds very much like some normal everyday Middle Eastern rhetoric, where you're very, go return each of you to your mother's house. May the Lord deal kindly with you as you have dealt with me and with the dead and with me. Oh, with the dead. They even say with the dead, like they're very blunt and straightforward, a very, very big, with their speaking and such. Okay. Oh, hey, there's more. So this shows us at least that, hey, Naomi, she's trying to do the right thing. She's saying, hey, go back to Moab, to your mom's house. Be with your mom. I don't think she's saying, hey, your mom's all alone. I think she's saying, just go back. Why mother's house? Why not father's house? I'm not sure. Because they would usually say father, the father's the head of the household. He's the one, the property goes to him and to the son. Property is very, very important. All the possessions go to him and to the son. The father makes all the choices. Why the father and not the mother? I'm not sure. I mean, why the mother in this case and not the father? I'm not sure. Maybe I'll look at that later. Go return each of you to your mother's house. So go back, live with your mom. Take care of her, live with her. Y'all, you're a Moabite. You're not an Israelite. May the Lord deal kindly with you as you have dealt with the dead and with me. May the Lord grant that you may find a place of rest, each one of you in the house of her husband. Their husbands died. So I guess they would go back to live with their in-laws. So it'd be the mother-in-laws. Let me think about that for a minute. You go back to your mother's house. Your husbands aren't going to be from your mother's house, or else they'd be your brothers, which they did in the very beginning of the Bible. But then as you have more and more kids, you have no need of that. And the physical stuff starts getting weird. And now if you biologically you shouldn't be doing that stuff. Results in bad stuff. Here we go. May the Lord grant that you may find a place of rest, each one of you in the house of her husband. So maybe she's just saying, go back to your mother's house. The Lord has dealt kindly with you. Go find a place of rest in your father's house. Go find a place because you're nice to me with your uncles. Maybe it's just a general thing like that. Go back to your home. In other words, go back to your home. Stay in your home. Why don't come to Israel with me? I'm trying to be nice. Then she kissed them, and they raised their voices and wept. It's the kiss, and not obviously nothing sexual. Today you go to foreign countries and they give you kisses on the cheek. You're like, whoa. I see some people doing that in America. It's fine. They kissed them and they raised their voices and wept, a sign of like, hey, we're sad because we're departing. However, they said to her, no, but we will return with you to your people. Okay. So they're raising their voices, weeping. No, we're going to return with you and to you and your people. They're not being as dramatic. They're just saying it. But Naomi said, return, my daughters. Why should you go with me? Do I still have sons in my womb that they may be your husbands? Okay, stop. Oh, here. Look at this. Okay, I'm going to find when she stops. Okay. And right there, the parentheses. And they raise their voices, wept again. Okay. Where's it at? Do I still have sons in my womb that they may be your husbands? So their mother-in-law, well, their let me see. Yes, their mother-in-law. Naomi said to her, so Naomi and Elimelech had two sons, Mahlon and Chilion. Or in the New Living Translation, it said Kilian, but I'll say Chilion. Naomi and Elimelech have two sons, Mahlon and Chilion. They get daughter-in-laws for their sons. Okay, they get wives, Ruth and Orpah. So Ruth and Orpah were married to Ruth's kids. Ruth and Orpah were married to Ruth's kids. Okay, why should you go with me? Do I still have sons in my womb that they may be your husband? So even though they're like 20 years old, 25, maybe only 15, 13, 14, 15, sometimes, they got married pretty early back in the day. Okay. Naomi is saying, I had sons in my womb. They came out and I got daughters for them. Y'all were the daughters. Those sons died. If you come with me, I'm too old to give you more sons. That's a weird thing. I agree. That's the way they did it back then. Let's look at that. That was the way. Okay. Bill. Bible Gateway. I haven't looked at Blue Letter Bible in a long time. I found out that that's good for studying very specific words. Like somebody at Facebook says something like the word hope appears 17 times in the New Testament. And I looked it up. Twice it appeared in the Greek word that they were talking about. The rest of the time it was some other Greek words. I was like, hey, look, the word hope does appear, but only twice is this Greek word. You said this Greek word always means, but it's not the same Greek word. And so come on, Greek words and different Greek words and how many times a Greek word appears. That's good for Blue Letter Bible. Okay. This is good for just very general stuff. And Bible.cc, Bible Hub, that was pretty good. It was just giving me problems, like they had to make a bunch of tweaks to it. Well, then I found Parallel Plus Bible. So I got the Parallel Bible. I got the Blue Letter, the Bible Gateway for the single Bible. Okay, let's go. Tamar. Is that the way you spell Tamar? Judah and Tamar. Okay. It came about at that time that Judah departed from his brothers and visited a certain Adullamite, whose name was Hira. Judah saw there was a daughter of a certain Canaanite whose name was Shua, and he took her and went into her. So Judah visited Hira. He saw Shua and he went into her. And they got it on. So she conceived and bore a son and named him I'm guessing Judah married Shua. I hope so, but I don't know. Even God's people, Judah was one of God's, was one of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. Judah was one of Jacob's sons. Judah is who the land of Judah is named after. Judah, Judaism, Jewish. And there we go, man. Look at that. So Judah's an important guy in God's scheme, but hopefully he didn't mess up. But he probably did. I mean, there was a daughter of a certain Canaanite, one's name was Shua. Judah goes into Shua, has a son, named him Then she conceived again and bore him a son, named him Onan. She still bore another son and named him Shelah. And it was at Chezeb that she bore him. Okay. Is it Chezeb? Okay, oops. All right. Judah took a wife for his firstborn. Her name was Tamar. Okay. But Judah's firstborn, was evil in the sight of the Lord. So the Lord took his life. Okay. Judah has 3 sons. I wish that would go away. Control plus. Onan, and Shelah. Onan, Shelah? You give a name to a boy? Anyway, Onan, and Shelah. Now Judah took a wife for Her name was Tamar. But Judah's firstborn, was evil in the sight of the Lord, so that the Lord took his life. Then Judah said to Onan, go into your brother's wife and perform your duty as a brother-in-law and raise up offspring for your brother. Yikes. Your dead husband's wife, go in there and have babies. And those babies are going to be your brother's babies. They're not going to be yours. Something they did back then. That's the way they did it. Onan knew that the offspring would not be his. So when he went into his brother's wife, he spilled. He wasted his seed on the ground in order to not to give offspring to his brother. Sounds like they were doing the deed. And then before the sperm came out, he came out too. He's like, I don't want it. Look, Onan knew the offspring would not be his because the older brother, he died. Now he's like, dang it, I don't have a wife yet. And my older brother dies. Now I got to take his wife and have sons for my older brother. That's the weirdest thing ever. We would never do that nowadays. Some countries in today's world, they might still practice that. That's barbaric. I don't know. It's just the way that the world is. It's the way they live. Is it barbaric? To these people, it might have been the most normal thing. This might have been the moral thing to do. I mean, we're like, no, BJ, this is impossible. You can't say it's moral. We know better now. How could God let this go on? God worked with people and their faults. If this is not a fault, he works with people in their own cultures. Let's say it's both. He works with people. That's what he does. Okay. Onan goes in, wastes his seed because he's like, hey, this isn't going to be my son. It's going to be a son for my brother. But you could still have your brother's son, so it could pass. Maybe Onan wanted to be known as the firstborn. The firstborn got the property rights, the inheritance, stuff like that. The secondborn would get some stuff, maybe, and the third born, but the firstborn is maybe Onan was didn't. I'm who knows why Onan did it exactly. It probably wasn't the reason we wouldn't do it. We wouldn't even go in there in the first place. My mom was like, "Hey, BJ, your older brother died. He didn't have any kids, so go in there to his wife, to his unmarried wife, to his widowed wife." I'd be like, "Mom, no, we need to get you to a psychiatrist to get you checked out." I mean, it would be a joke. I'd be like, "Haha, you're funny, Mom." You see, we wouldn't even get that far. They're like, "Okay, I guess I'll do it." That part of it's normal, but he doesn't want his own offspring for his brother. Okay. Then Judah said, okay, but what Onan did was displeasing in the sight of the Lord. So, capital H, God took his life also. Man, God taking people's lives. How does he do it? I don't know. It doesn't tell us. He just died. I mean, and it says he took his life. God does everything. So, I mean, you can trace everything back to God, it seems. Then Judah said to his daughter-in-law Tamar, "Remain a widow in your father's house." Judah is not Tamar's dad. Judah said, "Remain a widow in your father's house." Okay, so live with your father. That's good, and be protected by your father. Your father will take care of you, don't worry. Because remember, women back then were looked at very, very lowly. If you were a woman by yourself, that's no good. You have a man with you, that's I know it's very, like I said, it's just a different culture. It's a different time that would never fly today. Remain a widow in your father's house until my son Shelah grows up. For Judah thought, "I'm afraid that he too may die like his brothers." So, hey, remain a widow until Shelah grows up, gets old enough. Actually, I just don't want to give, you're Tamar, you must be a problem. I don't want to get, God's going to kill them too. Now, after a considerable time, Shua's daughter, the wife of Judah, died. Okay, so it was his wife. Okay, so Judah's wife died. So Onan, and Shelah, their mom died. Okay, Shua's daughter. And when the time of mourning was ended, Judah went up to the sheep shearers in Timon. It was told Tamar, "Behold, your father-in-law is going up to Timon to shear sheep." Okay. Now, we don't have to continue, but you can see the, I mean, we could, if you want to read all, but this is supposed to be about Ruth. All this you can see. You go and there's a thing called Leverite Marriage because it's in the book of Leviticus. Leviticus. Why not Levitite? Leverite. Leviticus, I don't know. Levi and Levi. Levi for Leviticus, Levi for Leverite. Leverite marriage. If a brother dies and has no kids, his brother, if a husband dies, has no kids, his brother needs to go into his wife, have kids, so that the dead man will have offspring. His name will continue. Now, the brother, they've got the husband and the brother. The brother can still have kids of his own with his own wife. So he can raise up offspring and have a name for himself and his family. But he needs to have at least one kid with his brother's widow. Oh my goodness. So now he's like, is that adultery? They didn't see it that way. God seemed fine with it, at least in the Old Testament. In the New Testament, it seems to change. You don't be doing that stuff. Jesus is like, hey, God did stuff like this for you because of the hardness of your heart. He worked with people in their own culture. That's what he's doing. He's like dies. So, hey, Onan, go have babies for your brother. Onan dies. Shelah is going to grow up and eventually get married to Tamar. But down here, Tamar's like, it doesn't happen. And Tamar takes matter in their own hands. She's like, I want a baby. Come on, I want a baby. Men wanted their own kids to have their own offspring. Women just wanted babies. Okay, so all that. Let's go back. Naomi said, return, my daughter. Why should you go with me? Do I still have sons in my womb that they may be your husbands? She's like, hey, I mean, we know scientifically a woman has eggs, a man has sperm. They get together and make a baby. Do I still have sons in my womb? Not so scientific. I mean, she doesn't get, do I still have Do I still have ovaries that produce I don't know, eggs that will go through my uvula? I mean, no, it's not a scientific, it's just, they're just talking like normal everyday people. That's what they are. I still have kids in my womb, sons, that they may be your husbands. So in other words, let's say Orpah and Ruth are 15. Naomi gets married a year later, has a son. So now it's been 2 years, a year and 9 months. So now they're 18. Let's say now they're 17. They're 17. You want the son to grow to be at least 20. Okay, I believe 20 is the age. 20 was the age that you would fight in battle and stuff. The census would count people 20 and over 20 and over, because they were battle ready. So let's say 20 for the man. It's younger for women when they got married, but let's say 20 for the man. So 20, the women were already 17, 37-year-old ladies and 20-year-old men. You see how different the world of the Bible is? The world of the Bible, the world of the Middle East in this time. If we were to go read other documents that weren't in the Bible, I'm not saying heretical Bible, no. Other history from, say, Moab. If we were to find historical books from Moab, we'd be reading and go, this is weird stuff, once we understood it. If we went and read histories from Ammon. Ammon was another country. If we went and read sacred texts from Ammon, we find archaeologists find it, translate it in English, we read it, we'd be like, what in the world? This is crazy. People having sex with their brother-in-laws, and it's a normal everyday thing, and multiple wives, and it's not frowned upon, and then there's slavery, and there's famines caused by the gods so many times. I mean, weird stuff. Straight. I mean, but I still have sons and wombs, that they may be your husbands. Really young sons, gonna grow up, marry not really old late. Well, back then 40 was probably pretty old, because people did live pretty old, but some people did live pretty old. Life expectancy wasn't that much, so look, Naomi says, look, no, you will not okay. May the Lord grant you peace, each one of your house for her husband. And she kissed her. However, no, we will not. But Naomi said, why? Do I still have sons in my wombs, that they may be your husbands? So Ruth and Orpah, return, my daughters. They're her daughter-in-laws. Go, for I am too old to have a husband. So even if I have a husband, so she's pretty old. And like I said, it wasn't looked at favorably. This part wasn't looked at favorably. If a woman had sex, she was now no longer, in many people's eyes, fit or worthy to be married again. Naomi's a widow. She got a husband, not out of wedlock. It wasn't like they had a fling. There was no immorality. Got a husband, have kids. Her husband dies, her kids died. A lot of men will look at her, even though it's innocent, everything's good. A lot of men will look at her and go, but wait, you've already had sex. You're not a virgin. A lot of men will look at her and say that, even though it's completely moral, everything's fine. She's a widow for not sinful causes. Sorry, you're not a virgin. That is sinful. People did frown upon that in the day. They would say, look, we need to take care of widows and orphans. That might include marrying them, because when you marry somebody, you're obligated to take care of them. Marriage back then was much more contractual than it is today. 54 minutes, okay. I'm making pretty good time. We'll get right before Ruth's loyalty. Yeah, okay. Only a few verses, but that's okay. We only did 1 through 6 yesterday. And hey, we're already to 12 today. That's already 6 verses. So we did a review on 1 through 6 today. Plus, we've gotten all the way down to verse 12 today. So man, we're doing pretty good time. 6 verses in an hour. No. Return, my daughters, go, for I am too old to have a husband. And so I'm not going to have kids anyway. So I still have sons in my wombs. I'm even too old to have a husband. If I said I have hope, if I were even to have a husband tonight and also to give birth to sons, would you therefore wait until they were grown? Like, you're going to wait that long. You're going to wait 15 or 20 years, not have a baby, you know. Would you therefore refrain from marrying? No, my daughters, for it is much more bitter for me than for you, because the hand of the Lord has come out against me. Oh, so she's very sad. This whole time, it seemed like she's just, saying, okay, I'm going to go back and I'm going to have a good life for me. But no, she's bitter. For it is much more bitter for me than for you. Why? Because they're young. They can go back. Even though they've had a husband, they're probably not virgins. They can go back and get husbands. Like I said, people would be like, oh, you're a virgin, I don't want to have a kid with you. But if they're still young, some people would go ahead and go with them. Like I said, it's frowned upon to say it's frowned upon to say you're a virgin, therefore I'm not going to take care of you, and you can just be a widow and rot, and you can be a widow and be susceptible to the dangers of a widow and become a beggar. Okay, I know that's going to happen, but I'm not going to marry you because you're a virgin. Okay, wasn't necessarily like, hey, she's a virgin, but she's in her dad's household. Her dad and her brothers and her family's taking care of her. That wasn't necessarily bad. So they could have probably easily found a husband. They're still young. They're virgins. They're not virgins, but they're still young. So my daughters, it is much more bitter for me because Naomi's old. She probably doesn't even have kids to give than for you. Because the hand of the Lord has come out against me. He's taken my husband, my two son-in-laws at this old age, where I can now not provide for you guys. I'm bitter. I mean, look what the Lord's done to me. He's taken all my stuff. And now it could almost look at it like this. God taking everything from me. Hey, no, you leave. God's taking my husband from me. Yeah, I might as well go too. Look, go have a husband. Might be something like that. I would say maybe she's being nice. Hey, don't go into the same situation as me. If you follow me, you might be, I'm not going to have kids to give to you. You're Moabites. You don't know people in Israel. People in Israel aren't going to want to marry a Moabite. People in Israel aren't going to want to marry a Moabite who aren't a virgin. People in Israel, that's not going to happen. People in Israel are going to look down on you. Hey, do yourselves a favor. God has dealt bitterly. God is the hand of the Lord. The hand of the Lord. The hand of the Lord is against me. Don't let it be against you. Please go back so you can do good. That could happen. That could be what she's thinking, but she does say it is much more bitter. I guess that doesn't necessarily have, a bad taste, It doesn't have to be, a bitter. It could just, I'm bitter. It's been bitter. It's been hard against me. Don't put yourself in the same situation as me. It could be. Because the hand of the Lord is coming against me. Let's look up that phrase. The hand of the Lord. Because the Lord has extended his hand against me. Right here. Okay, let's look here. Let's look in the ESV. No, my daughter, he is exceedingly bitter for me and for your sake, that it is exceedingly bitter to me for your sake, that the hand of the Lord has gone out against me. What in the world? That's the weirdest sentence ever. No, my daughters. Okay, would you therefore wait till they were grown? Her kids, that if she even had kids tonight, if I had a husband, even if I should have a husband this night and bear sons, would you wait therefore till they were grown? Would you therefore refrain from marrying? Probably not. If you went back and met a good Moabite man and they were like, oh, you weren't even married, that's fun. You're still young. We'll take it. No, my daughters, for it is exceedingly bitter to me for your sake that the hand of the Lord has gone out. It is exceedingly bitter to me for your sake that the hand of, I'm not sure what the ESV is getting at there. It's trying to, okay, let's read the NET. Surely you would not remain unmarried all that time. Okay. No, my daughters, you must not return with me, for my intense sufferings is too much for you to bear, for the Lord is afflicting me. Okay. Let's look over. My lot is too bitter for you because the Lord has extended his hand against me. Okay. My lot in life is a bad one. Her lot in life is, no, my daughters, my lot in life is too bitter for you because the Lord, no, my daughters, it is more bitter for me than for you. Okay, so the NIV, it is more bitter for me than for you because the Lord has turned his hand against me. But some of the other versions, the NABRE, the NET, the ESV, I believe, they're saying, look, the Lord has dealt a bad blow against me. It's bitter for me. I don't want that to happen to you. That's what the NIV, I'm sorry, my lot is too bitter for you because the Lord is extending a hand against me. No, my daughters, for my intense suffering is too much for you to bear. Okay, for the Lord is afflicting me. Okay. But my life is much too bitter for you to share because the Lord's hand is turned against me. Okay. So don't come with me because my life is hard. I don't want to give you my burden. I don't want the hand of the Lord to be against you. I don't want my circumstances that the Lord has given me to be on your shoulders. That's what it seems some of these translations are saying. Other ones just seem to say, for it is much bitter for me than for you, because the Lord's hand just straight out, it's bitter for me. It's not for you. The Lord has been bitter upon me. But hey, the hand of the Lord has been heavy against me. But you can go back to your own people and you can get married, So go do that. Maybe, she's like, everything's, she, it's bitter against me. And let's look up the hand of the Lord real quick. My cat is sitting on the floor, looking around, looking at me, okay, hand of the Lord. I'm going to do this. Will this work? Behold, the hand of the Lord will come with a very severe pestilence on your livestock, which are in the field. Oh, that's during the plagues of the Exodus. Moses is like, dude, Pharaoh, look, here's the next plague. The hand of the Lord will come with a very severe pestilence on your livestock, which are in the field, on the horse, and all livestock are going to die. That's what that story is about. That's one of the 10 plagues of Egypt. That's Moses. I'm pretty certain in context. Let's see. In context, never. Okay. Full chapter. Then the Lord said to Moses, go to Pharaoh and speak to him. Thus says the Lord. Okay, so the Lord said to Moses, go to Pharaoh and speak to him. If you let my people go, that they may serve me, for if you refuse to let them go and continue to hold them, behold, the hand of the Lord will come with a very severe pestilence on your livestock, which are in the field, on the horses and on the donkeys, the camels and herds, a very severe pestilence, so the livestock's going to die. Yep. Okay. Let's see. The Lord did this thing on the next day. All the livestock of Egypt died, but the livestock of the sons of Israel, not one died. Okay. That's a strong hand. Strong hand. Moreover, Deuteronomy 2:15. The hand of the Lord was against them to destroy them from within the camp until they all perished. All the people of the earth may know that the hand of the Lord is mighty, so you may fear the Lord your God forever. So, hey, there's a good thing. The hand of the Lord is mighty, so we may fear the Lord of God, the Lord our God forever. Okay. Phinehas, the son of Eleazar the priest, said to the sons of Reuben, the sons of Gad, and the sons of Manasseh. Remember, Reuben, Gad, Manasseh. Those are 3 sons of Jacob. So, hey, Phinehas is talking to the families of Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh. He's talking to them. Today we know that the Lord is in our midst because you have not committed this unfaithful act against the Lord. That's good. Now you have delivered the sons of Israel from the hand of the Lord. Okay. So because you, the tribe of Reuben, the tribe of Gad, the tribe of Manasseh, y'all have not committed this unfaithful act. Therefore, you have delivered the sons of Israel from the hand of the Lord. So God is going to punish them, evidently, for something. But they didn't commit the bad act. So God said, okay, they didn't commit the bad act. I won't punish them. My hand will not be against them. Okay. Wherever they went, the hand of the Lord was against them for evil. Yikes. Oh, hey, Ruth, 113, look at it. 1 Samuel 5:6. Now the hand of the Lord was heavy on the Ashdodites as he ravaged them and smote them with tumors, both Ashdod and its territories. Ashdod was a pagan nation nearby, or maybe just a city. There's some pagan people. The hand of the Lord is heavy against them, afflict them with tumors. Man. Okay, so you can see the hand of the Lord, okay? And the hand of the Lord was against the Philistines all the days of Samuel. That's good. Against the Philistines and not the Israelites. So here, Ruth is saying, for the hand of the Lord has come out against me. Is that true? The hand of the Lord seems to be like the bad guys who are beating up Israel, God comes out strong against them. Israel, when it does bad things against God, the hand of the Lord comes against them. Ruth, it doesn't seem like she's done, and we're not told that she's done anything bad against the Lord. We're not told that she's an Israelite, that she's done anything bad. We're not told she's an enemy of the Lord. We're not told that. But she says, the hand of the Lord has come out against me. She's saying that. The Bible is recording what she's saying. I wonder if it's true. I wonder if God really is punishing her for something. I don't think so. We would have been told. I mean, she's saying I'm bitter about it. She had two daughters, she had a father, two sons and two daughters. I mean, that's pretty good. But then, I'm sorry, a husband, 2 sons and 2 daughters. That's pretty good. 2 daughters-in-laws. But they did die. She's assuming the hand of the Lord is against me. Maybe she did do something bad. It's not recorded though. I'm not sure. Who knows? Maybe she thinks, oh, because we moved from Israel to Moab, the Lord doesn't like that. It doesn't say though. I mean, it doesn't say. She might just be saying the hand of the Lord is against, kind of like some people are like, oh my goodness, everybody's against me. God's against me. Why did God take my child? Like you get in a car wreck and then your child died. Why did God take my child? We're like, God didn't take your child. Bad things happen sometimes. God let it happen, obviously, because he can stop anything. He can do anything he wants. But he didn't take your child. He wasn't like, I'm going to make sure you get into this car wreck and your child dies. I mean, it could have happened. Probably not. If it did happen, how do we know if it's because of sin in your life? Does God punish people that way because of sin? I don't think he does that anymore. His wrath has been poured out on the cross. Of course, we're told wrath in Romans is against evil people, and then God hands them over. That's how God punishes them. They start doing crazy bad things. Because they're doing crazy bad things, God hands them over more. It doesn't seem like God in Romans, in the beginning of Romans, where it tells us about how God punishes people. It doesn't seem like he directly punishes them, but in general, he hands them over. Has Ruth done anything, Naomi, has Naomi done anything bad worth God handing her over? It doesn't tell us. I don't think so. I mean, she was faithful to her husband and wife. I mean, she got kids for her daughter-in-laws for her sons. I don't know, I'm gonna assume that she's just saying this as a phrase. She's just going over and above, like return my daughters go, for I'm too old. If I said I have hope, if I were a husband tonight, would they be grown? Do I still have the children in my womb? And here, then she kissed them, and they raised their voices and wept. I mean, they're being really loud. They're being verbose. They're being over the top with the way this is happening. I mean, she's leaving to go back to her own country and going to leave her daughter-in-law. It's a very emotional time, but they're being very loud, very verbose, very over the top. She might be like, oh, it's bitter. The hand of the Lord has come against me. That's kind of what I'm assuming. It could be wrong though, but we're not told anything else. What I'm assuming is that she's saying it because she's just sad, that she's using it as a phrase. The hand of the Lord is against me. The other places it's like specifically punishment. Here, it's not a prophet like Moses or Joshua, and the other one, Phineas, was a priest. Samuel's a prophet. The narrator says the hand of the Lord was against them, you know. But here it's Ruth, who's just a lady. She's just saying it as a phrase. So we're not really sure, you know. So hour and 10 minutes. Okay. Here's next time on Very Basic Bible. You know, they raised their voices and wept again. And Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clung to her. Orpah kissed her, but Ruth clung to her. Okay, I'm back. Let's read other verses. They lifted up their voice and wept again. And Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clung to her. What's the difference? I mean, there's a word but hey, let's read other translations. Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clung tightly to her. Orpah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, but Ruth clung to her. Okay, kissed her goodbye. That's what we do today. Kiss goodbye. That's a little different than what they did back then. Today I can say I kissed her goodbye. I didn't even kiss someone. It's just a phrase we use, you know. Like my mom might kiss me goodbye, maybe. Sometimes I kiss my wife goodbye. We don't even hardly use that phrase anymore. That phrase seems kind of, oh, that's cute, a kiss goodbye. So it didn't really work. If he means they kissed her because she was going goodbye, literally because she was leaving, like me kissing you means I'm leaving. NIV, then Orpah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, but Ruth clung to her. Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clung to her. In the CSB, the NLT, Orpah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, but Ruth clung tightly to Naomi. Instead of trying to explain it, then Naomi, and how do I know it's Naomi? Let's see. And then she said, behold, your sister-in-law. So she's talking to, okay, behold, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and her gods. Return after your sister-in-law. But Ruth said, do not plead with me to leave. So then Naomi said, behold, Orpah has gone back to the Moabites and to the Moabites' gods. Return with Orpah. Ruth said, do not plead with me to leave you, Naomi, or to turn back from following you. For you go, I will go. And where you sleep, I will sleep. Your people shall be my people, your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord do so to me, and worse, if anything but death separates me from you. Man. Okay, we got a few more. Okay. All right, here. When Naomi saw that Ruth was determined to go with Naomi, when she saw that she was determined to go with her, she stopped speaking to her about it. She's finally like, okay, you're determined to come with me? Okay, fine, you can come with me. Okay, so we know what happens next time, but we'll say that we stopped at verse 13. Okay. The Lord is afflicting me. Yeah, the hand of the Lord. That's what she thinks it is. I mean, it's an affliction for your husband and your son-in-law to die. But today we think of it emotionally. All the memories, and stuff, why did God take him from me? So memories. He didn't live a full life. And, I still had a life to live with him and I'm sad. But sometimes when our husband and or our kids die, they lived a good life. They lived a happy life. They were fulfilled. We know they're going to heaven. They love Jesus. So we know sometimes they look at it that way. I know some pastors that are like, I know some Christians that are like, I'm so glad I'm fixing to die. This life is painful and I'm not, and I'm fixing to go be with Jesus. Like, hey, should we celebrate people dying? No. Should we celebrate people going to heaven and being with Christ? I'm not saying, okay, theology time. The moment you die, do you go straight to live in heaven as if heaven's a place where you live with God in Christ? I'm not sure. Some people say you sleep until you awake when Christ comes back the second time. Some people say you go to the intermediate state, paradise. You're in Abraham's, but some people say you're in an intermediate state and Jesus isn't there. Some people say you're in an intermediate state and Jesus is there. Then when the second coming comes, you come back with them. Some people say, well, heaven's not really a place. It's a mindset. That last one's kind of silly. I'm not sure. So whenever I say going to Christ, going to be with heaven, go whatever, I'm not sure. But I myself think, my parents, let's say they die of COVID in a week. They don't have COVID, but that's a hot button issue. Oh no, get this flu, get the shot, so you won't, die or whatever. Let's say they don't get the shot, they die of COVID in a week. Let's say that happens. They both know Jesus. They both know Jesus. Their life is fulfilled then. Awesome. I know that they're gonna, when Christ returns, or whenever I go with Christ, I'm gonna see him again. They're with Christ. They're with Jesus. They're glorifying God. God is getting magnificent glory. Their life is a testimony for him. Good. For the Lord is afflicting me because my husband and my son-in-laws and my children have died. My husband and my sons have died. Is Naomi thinking the way that I just explained? Probably not. She's probably thinking they died. Now I'm all alone. I'm not saying she's being selfish. Okay. She has no security. We should be sad about that. We should be worried for her. The book of James says, true religion is this. What is true religion? True religion is this: taking care of widows and orphans and keeping yourself unspotted from the world. True religion is taking care of widows and orphans. In the book of First Timothy, Paul says, hey, there's a list of widows. Make sure they're only on the list if they're old enough. They can't get remarried, so their husband and their husband's family can take care of them. They were good people. They're not trying to be shysters. They're not trying to trick the church, stuff like that. Make sure these widows, so they can be on a list to be helped by the church, so long as it's legit. We don't want to burden the church with undue circumstances. But hey, if somebody's old enough, they can't get married again, somebody's in bad circumstances, somebody's really trying hard, they're not trying to trick the church, put them on the list and the church can help them out. So see, helping widows is a good thing. We should be sad about that. So, Okay, I've said too much. 117, stop share. Go ahead and let you guys go. Love you very much, my peeps. Let's say a quick prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed, glorious, and wonderful be your name. Your kingdom come, let it come. Your will be done. Please let your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us everything we need for today, our daily bread. Give us the stuff we need. Forgive me of my sins as I forgive those who sin against me. So please give me the strength to forgive the sins of others. Don't lead me to temptation. Deliver me from evil. All of us, Lord. For yours is a kingdom. Yours is a power. You are the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever. It's all yours, God. You get all the glory and all the thanks and all the praise. Amen. See y'all guys in another video.